Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to tackle a huge topic, the economics of poverty. We're going to dive into how we can actually move past all the common myths and find solutions that, really work.
For centuries, there's been this really simple story about poverty, that it's basically the result of bad behavior. And it's a convenient story, right? Because if that's true, it gives everyone a justification to do nothing. It suggests that any effort to help is not just pointless, but might even make things worse.
But of course, the real story is so much more complex. So in this explainer, we're going to look at how economists systematically define the problem, analyze it, and actually test solutions, moving away from simple assumptions and toward insights that are driven by data.
Okay, so first things first. Before we can build anything new, we have to clear away some of these really old, popular beliefs that just don't hold up when you look at them closely. We're talking about ideas that have been around forever and have often blocked real progress.
Economic analysis really gives us the tools to challenge these ideas. Take the myth that poor people are lazy or irrational. Study after study shows that when given a real opportunity, people make incredibly rational economic decisions, like investing in their kids' education or adopting new farming tech. The problem isn't their mindset, it's the severe constraints they're operating under. The evidence just consistently shows these myths don't match reality.
All right, so if those myths are wrong, how do we get an accurate picture? Well, it all starts with a really fundamental question. What is poverty anyway? And believe me, the answer is not as simple as you might think. So economists usually start by breaking it down into two core concepts, just like you see here. On the left, you've got absolute poverty. This is about basic survival, not having enough for fundamental needs like food, water, shelter. Then, on the right, there's relative poverty, which is all about social inclusion. It's about being so far behind everyone else in your society that you can't really participate. And this distinction is crucial because how you define the problem completely changes who you consider poor and what you think the solution should be.
And this right here is so important. Poverty is not just about money. It's a multidimensional problem that really touches every single aspect of a person's life. It's about what economists call a lack of capabilities, basically the freedom to live the life you want to live. This covers everything from health and education to personal security and just having a voice in your own community.
So, if poverty is this huge, complex, multi-layered problem, why is it so incredibly hard to escape? Well, one of the most powerful concepts for understanding this is the idea of a poverty trap.
A poverty trap completely shifts the focus. Instead of blaming individuals, we start to understand the systemic barriers. And this isn't a new idea, by the way. It has deep roots in economics. It's a vicious cycle where being poor is the very thing that makes it almost impossible to stop being poor.
Here's exactly how that trap works. You start with very little, right? That means you can't afford the very things that would help you earn more, like better education for your kids or better fertilizer for your crops or even just basic healthcare to stay productive. This, of course, leads to low earnings, which means you can't save anything, and boom, you are right back where you started. It's a cycle.
And the effects of this are so real. In some developing countries, the birth rate among the absolute poorest families can be 40% higher than the population average. Now, this isn't a moral failing. It's often a direct consequence of the trap itself, stretching resources that are already paper thin and making it that much harder for the next generation to have a shot at escape.
Okay, so once you understand the trap, the big question becomes, what can we actually do about it? Well, the policies to fight poverty have evolved dramatically over the years, and they really reflect our changing understanding of the problem itself.
We've moved from policies that were literally designed to deter people from asking for help, like those awful workhouses in the 19th century, to policies today that invest directly in people's well-being. The modern era is really defined by finding ways to empower people, often through things like direct cash transfers. And studies have shown these can lead to better nutrition, kids staying in school longer, and even more investment in small businesses.
But here's the thing. A new, shiny policy idea just isn't enough. The single biggest shift in modern poverty economics is this relentless, almost obsessive focus on evidence. How do we know for sure if a program is actually working? This is the basic logic behind an incredibly powerful tool called randomized controlled trials, or RCTs. You can literally think of them like medical trials, but for social policy. By randomly giving a program to one group and not another, you create a control group. This lets you isolate the true impact of the policy from all the other noise happening in people's lives.
It is the most rigorous way we have to figure out what really works and what doesn't.
So the big takeaway here is that evidence lets us move past just having good intentions. It helps us build a real toolkit of policies that are proven to break the poverty cycle. And, just as important, it tells us which popular programs we should probably stop funding because they just aren't effective.
So, to wrap it all up, we've gone from busting old myths to carefully measuring all the different dimensions of the problem, to understanding the systemic traps that hold people back, and finally, to rigorously testing our solutions. That entire process is how modern economics gives us a powerful, evidence-based framework for action.
And that brings us to the final and maybe the most important question of all. Economics can show us what's possible, it can show us what works, but actually turning that knowledge into reality, well, that's a challenge that really depends on all of us.